I've received special requests to show how to crochet the Granny Teardrop Afghan together, and that is the subject of this video. You can download the Granny Teardrop Afghan pattern for free by following the instructions in the description below. To demonstrate this method, I'm creating a sample Afghan. Start by laying out the squares in a diamond formation at the center of the Granny Teardrop Afghan. Then place the teardrop motifs along the edges. The squares fit between the straight edges of the teardrop motifs, and the teardrop side always points outward. In the larger version of the Afghan, there would be many more teardrop motifs along each of the edges, and there would be a significantly larger number of squares in the center. Note how the motifs are arranged in rows. Each row of motifs will be joined together as we add the border. Then, as we complete the edge adjacent to the prior row, we will join the two rows together. Let's start with row 1. Row 1 is made up of all teardrop motifs. With the teardrops all pointing toward you, pull up a loop in the corner of the motif at the far right and chain 3. Count the chain 3 as the first double crochet. We are going to be working along the two straight edges of each of the teardrop motifs in row 1. These will be worked just like any other granny square is worked, with 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, and a chain 1 in each of the corner spaces, and 3 double crochets, chain 1 in the side spaces. I'll meet you when we get to the third corner. That's where it gets interesting. We have already worked 3 double crochets and a chain 2 in this corner. But instead of completing this corner, we will jump over to the next motif in the row and work 3 double crochets and chain 1 in the adjacent corner space. Continue along the next 2 sides of the working motif in the same way. If there were more motifs in the row, then create the chain 2 bar and jump to the next motif until all the motifs in the row are connected. However, since this is the last motif in this row of our sample Afghan, we will begin bordering the teardrop side of the motifs next. The border on the curved side of the teardrop is always worked the same, so we will cover this once. Complete the corner and chain 1 to start the side. 3 double crochets, chain 1 in the next space. Then work 3 treble crochets and a chain 1 in each of the next 2 spaces. Make sure you don't miss the space between the 2 sets of treble crochets on the last round of the motif pattern. It's kind of sneaky and hidden in there. Work 3 treble, chain 2, and 3 treble crochets in the space at the tip of the teardrop. Working along the other side, work 3 treble and chain 1 in each of the next 2 spaces. and 3 double crochets and a chain 1 in the next space. Finally, work 3 double crochets in the corner space to complete that corner. And chain 2. And jump to the next motif in the row. Continue on in this fashion until the border is added to this side of row 1 and you return to the starting point. Slip stitch to join and end off. Row 2 lines up like this. So in this case, we're going to start right here. And we're going to come down here, cross over to this one, up here, down here, cross over to the other teardrop, and around. Make sure your teardrops are pointing outward. Work the border along the top edges of this row in the same manner. I'll meet up with you on the last motif of the row. Once the border is worked on the upper edge, continue working around the teardrop side just as shown before. We will begin joining at the next corner. To join the corners on the outer edge, work 3 double crochets and chain 2 in the corner space of the working motif. Remove the loop from the hook and insert the hook from the front to the back of the corner space on the adjacent motif on row 1. Pull the loop through the space and chain 2 to lock it down. Return to the corner space on the working motif and work 3 more double crochets to complete the corner. We've just turned the corner and are working along the side. At each side space, chain 1. Remove the loop from the hook and insert it from the front to the back in the adjacent side space in the motif on the prior row. Pull the loop through the space and chain 1 again to lock it down. Then return to the working motif and work 3 double crochets in the next space. You will continue in this fashion to join at each side space along the edge. At the next corner, work 3 double crochets in the corner space of the working motif and chain 2. This corner is incomplete because the final motif will be added on the next row. So we will jump over to the next motif in the row and work 3 double crochets in the corner space. When the motif from the next row fits into this corner, we will handle the bars and complete the corner. Then chain 1 to form a side space. The bars between the motifs belong to the corner, so skip the corner space and insert your hook in the first side space of the adjacent motif. Continue along the side to the next corner. Work 3 double crochets in the corner space. Chain 2. Do you see how the working motif is the last motif needed to complete this corner? In this case, we will need to join the bars and the corner space together. Take the loop off the hook and insert it under the 2 bars between the motifs on row 1. Pick up the loop and pull it under the bars, then chain 2 tightly to lock it down. Return to the working motif and work 3 double crochets in the corner space to complete the corner. Then chain 1 and continue down the side. Let's take a look. See how nice that turn is? Continue to join along these sides and then work the border around the teardrop to finish the row. Row 3 has no teardrops, just square motifs. You can attach your yarn anywhere along this edge except in the corner, because this corner is adjacent to the prior row and will be treated as a join later. I will meet with you when we get to this corner. Here we have a special join when 4 motifs come together. Work 3 double crochets into the corner space. Chain 2, remove the loop from the hook, go to the corner that is catty corner to the working motif, and insert the hook from the front to the back in that corner space and under the 2 bars. Pick up the loop and pull through the corner space. Chain 2 tightly to finish the join. See how neat that join is? Return to the working motif and continue down and join the sides. Continue to join additional rows to the afghan as I shown you before. Just make sure that the teardrops always point outward. When we get to the last row, however, I'll meet up with you to show you a very simple trick. On the last row, we will work the joining side first. Attach the yarn 1 space before the rightmost corner. Then join these sides together in a normal fashion. I'll meet you when we get to the corner right in between the teardrop motifs. Here we've chained our 2, and what we want to do is jump over to the corner space of the next motif in the row and work 3 double crochets in a chain 1 and continue to join. Now look back. We've just created a single bar. Continue to join these sides and around the teardrop. I will meet you again to finish off this corner as we crochet the border on the outer edge. When we reach this corner, chain 2, remove the loop from the hook and insert the hook from front to back in the corner space and under the 1 bar. It's sort of upside down from what we are used to, but the concept is similar. Pick up the loop and tightly chain 2. That's the little trick to the final row. Now just continue to work around the teardrops. So here's our little sampler afghan neatly assembled. Watch the next video to learn how to crochet the Granny Teardrop Afghan borders. If you like what you see, please click the subscribe button to get notifications of all my new videos. Happy crocheting!